Hey everybody, it's Will here. Thanks for joining me on another tea tasting. In this episode, we're going to be trying the Yame Gokou Matcha. So this is a very new matcha that just came to us from the region of Yame, and it's coming from the Gokou cultivar, which is a pretty rare cultivar in the world of matcha, and it's very well sought after. The Gokou cultivar has this very intense, savory umami flavor that a lot of matcha drinkers seem to appreciate. So this is something that was introduced to us for the first time by the farmers at Fuji Matcha in Shizuoka. And there we got to taste some Gokou matcha and really start to be introduced to the spectrum of flavor profiles. You're really getting more of these bold, savory flavors. Similar to the matcha koyai is a Gokou matcha. And this, you're really getting this kind of this bold, savory power with the matcha tea. So we're really excited to try this tea out. We're really glad to have it in our assortment now because the matcha koyai is quite popular, and it's good to have another Gokou matcha for people to try and see if they like it. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go prepare this tea here. Most matchas come in a tin. This one comes in a pack, similar to what you might find for a leaf tea, just like the Noike matcha. It's another example of that. So let's go ahead and open it up. You see this beautiful green powder in here. This pack comes with 50 grams, so that's enough to make 25 bowls of matcha or maybe even 50 cups of matcha. So what we're going to do is take our chashaku. So this is the bamboo teaspoon that we're going to be using, and for this we're gonna sift this because as you'll start to notice, even though I just opened it now for the first time, you're going to start to get these kind of clumps starting to form in the matcha. And this is not what you want in your tea because this is not going to mix so evenly into the water. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is this spoon kind of helps to get a perfect scoop out. I'm going to put that right in the sifter here. So 2 big scoops, that's what they do in the tea ceremony. This is going to get you about 2 grams of matcha. So for the leaf teas, we recommend 5 grams, but for matcha, we're going to go for 2 grams of powder. And then what we're going to do is, let's see here, we're going to push this through. Make sure we're removing all of the clumps here, because these clumps aren't going to mix so well into the water. It's going to be not as smooth of a drinking experience. We really want that fine powder that I'm going to show you in a second. Just kind of set that aside for now. And what you'll notice is at the bottom of the chawan, we have this beautiful fine powder without those clumps. So that's going to mix much more evenly into the water. Go ahead and add some water here. We're doing kind of between 60 and 70 Celsius, 160 and 175 Fahrenheit, more or less. Sorry, 70 to 80 Celsius. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add just a tiny bit of water here. I'm going to kind of smooth out the clumps before I add in the rest of the water. So the ratio is going to be 2 grams of powder to 100 milliliters of water. Add a little bit more in here. Notice a little bit of a foam starting to form. We're just going to scrape off the sides here before we start whisking. And then the whisking technique is going to be side to side, very quick movements with the wrist. You're not using your arm a whole lot. You're just doing these light whisking movements. And this is going to create a very small bubbles, which is what you want. You want it to be kind of creamy, almost like a latte. And this aerates the tea, makes it a little bit smoother. So you notice here, I got these small bubbles. There's a couple larger ones. You can go ahead and pop those, but it's not really going to make much of a big difference. Make sure that's all whisked in there. And then this is just going to make it smoother. So you'll notice this kind of almost looks like a matcha latte. It's very foamy. It's going to be very smooth, very airy, very light and creamy. Let's go ahead and give this a taste. Oh wow, yeah. right away I'm getting that powerful savory flavor I mentioned before. So this is typical for what you might find with a Gokou Matcha. You sometimes get it with the Yabukita, the more common matcha, but it's definitely more prevalent when you go for that premium Gokou cultivar. So if you're really looking for that power, that savory flavor, almost these brothy characteristics like you might find in a vegetable or a miso soup, you actually get those with the Gokou Matcha. So yeah, it's very kind of this very brothy characteristic, a little bit of astringency towards the end, which is typical when you have this much power in a matcha. I'm starting to get a little bit of this floral note. It's slightly on the drier side compared to some okumidori matchas, but I really like it. Yeah, this is very similar to the Koi. It's been a little while since I've had it, but the Koi is definitely, you know, it's also a Gokou Matcha, so it's definitely strong on these savory notes. A little bit of these steamed vegetable notes, a little bit of brothiness, tiny floral notes like from the Koi. Sometimes with the Koi you get these beautiful light floral notes. I'm getting that here as well. This is a really good tea. It's not quite as smooth as the okumidori matchas. So if you're new to matcha and you don't want something that's going to be too bitter, I would definitely start with an okumidori matcha like the Noike. So this is a good matcha for beginners, the Noike matcha. If you're looking for a little bit more power, I would definitely recommend either a Yabukita matcha or a Gokou matcha like this one. It's definitely going to give you some strength in your tea if that's what you're looking for. But a lot of beginners want something a little smoother. So if that's the case, I would definitely go for you know, the Washamine, the Noike, or the Chanoka Okumidori. So let's go ahead and take a look at the powder here. I just want to see, take a little bit more, kind of sift it into this dish here. Just get an idea of the color, consistency. Go ahead and put this on top of here. So this matcha is definitely on the lighter side. It's not like this deep shade of green like you would get with the Washamine, for example. But there definitely is, it definitely is like kind of a darker green, almost olive green color to it. So it's very nice. This is, so in its essence, matcha is basically just powdered green tea, but there are a lot of different steps that go into the production process. For example, matcha has to be shaded for 3 weeks prior to the harvest. It has to be made from just the top 3 leaves of the tea plant. They have to have their stems removed, they have their veins removed even, and then they're, you know, steamed and dried and ground into a powder. And to give you an idea of how long this process takes, to produce this 50-gram pack, it's going to take one of those giant stone mills a full hour just to produce 50 grams of powder. So a lot of people ask why matcha is so expensive. That's certainly one of the reasons why. But there are many other steps in the production process that can make it a little bit harder to get. So this matcha is going to be available on our online store. If you're looking to try a Gokou matcha, this might be a good beginner's one for you. So this is, you know, very smooth, very savory. It's got some of these brothy characteristics, a little bit of this astringency, but it's kind of well balanced by some of these more floral notes. I do really like seeing those floral notes in a matcha. It definitely gives some more dimension to the tea, which I appreciate. So I really like this tea. I would say that I appreciate more the smoother okumidori matchas, but if you're looking for something with some character to it, a little bit of this bold, full-bodied flavor, I would definitely recommend going for a Gokou Matcha. Particularly if you appreciate these more savory flavors, like for a gyokuro or something like that, the Gokou Matcha is going to be your friend here. It's definitely a matcha that's got a lot of strength to it, a lot of power to it. You could probably mix this in with a latte and you could still get the flavor of the matcha through the plant milk that you're using. So however you choose to enjoy this tea, it's definitely something that you might want to experience at least once. And thank you guys so much for joining me on this tasting. If you're not tasting this tea along with me, I hope you found some other matcha to enjoy. And I hope you enjoyed your tasting as well. But thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Until then, we'll see you next time.